Fellow Ambazonians, some level of dullness. There is a level of dullness that have become an international disgrace for us Southern Cameroonians as a people. When some of us or some people who project our nation or who seek to speak on behalf of our people, they embarrass the whole nation, it is called for concern. I want me to take a look for the interview for Chris Anu with Ambassador Tibor Nagy, and then we're go feel the same embarrassment, and maybe it will save the Ambazonian people from this foolishness. When I listen,
is it right, in my interpretation, that America's perception of what is going on in the Cameroons has essentially changed? Because essentially they call it an internal crisis, an internal conflict. I mean, you do not grant temporary protection status to an internal crisis, do you?
Yes, you do.
If you not listen for Chris Anu, if you don't know the basic of something as simple as TBS, how can you know how to lead Ambazonia? This guy owns a IG where they don't find some guy can put me being their president. This guy, Chris Anu, don't even know what is TPS. So according to Chris Anu, the assumption where the one presenter of Tibor Nagy now say the Ambazonian crisis they don't become an eternal matter for inside United Nations.
In my interpretation, that America's perception of what is going on in the Cameroons has essentially changed, because essentially they call it an internal crisis, an internal conflict. I mean, you do not grant temporary protection status to an internal crisis, do you?
The United States, how can you even think like that? How can you demonstrate such lack of basic knowledge in international law, and yet you want to lead Ambazonia? So Chris Anu asks and say, the granting of TPS, it means now say Ambazonian crisis, it then become an eternal matter for America. How dull and lack of display of lack of basic knowledge. If you don't even know a simple thing as TPS and what it means diplomatically, how can you even know how Ambazonia can be free? When you demonstrate this type of stupidity and intellectual immaturity in the international stage, do you think people can take Ambazonia seriously? Seriously, Chris Anu, you don't know what is TPS? Whoa. Of course, Tibor Nagy, he tell you say, not be only for internal matter. Even if you don't know something, you can learn. These are basic things. If you, Chris Anu, you cannot learn about TPS, I know you are a school dropout, not because they didn't drive you for school, but because of your laziness. If you cannot learn simple things like this, how can you represent Ambazonia? How can you even educate Ambazonia? How can you even create an IG? And some people think that you can lead us to freedom. Woo!
We have done it in Liberia, and we have done it in Sierra Leone. We have done it in South Sudan. South Sudan is one of the countries. We've done it in Somalia. Again, Somalia's problem is with Al-Shabaab. So most of the time it is with internal crises.
Now, this TPS privilege runs for 18 months. When it is 18 months, what is it going to take to convince America that it should be lifted? Or do you think, or is it extendable?
It is absolutely extendable.
So now listen, the second question, Chris Anu, it asked him how it go take to convince American government after 18 months me they extend this TPS. That means you don't even know say TPS na internal matter for America. You don't need to convince America. Now America need to assess the situation before it grant them again, before it extend them. You don't even know basic. How do you think Tibor Nagy will look at us when they listen to such questions from you? Because questions can tell the type of people you represent and who you are. You being a leader, Chris Anu, who have created your own IG. This is how immature you are. This is how dull you are. Ambazonia, wouldn't be now curse this. This man has exposed us. It's very terrible.
Understandable. What happens is when it gets close to the period that it's going to expire, and a decision is made in Washington at what we call the interagency level to say, okay, we have the temporary protection status. Should it be let to expire, or are conditions still similar to?
Now, let's look at one critical issue involved with this TPS status thing. There is this debate amongst Southern Cameroonians to the effect that often at times these rulings tend to benefit more Francophone Cameroonians than they do Ambazonians, Southern Cameroonians, who are actually suffering from the brunt of the war. How does the government, the U.S. government, separate between the two to know exactly who is just an economic immigrant and who is actually running away from war?
Under this temporary protective status, all someone has to be is a Cameroonian. It doesn't matter if they're from, the Central African border, or from Douala, or, any Kusari. It doesn't matter. It applies to all Cameroonians. Cameroonians in the United States, immaterial of their immigration status, do not have to return to Cameroon at this time. And they are guaranteed a period of at least 18 months.
So again, this is about benefiting everybody who comes from Cameroon, no matter where from Cameroon they come from.
Absolutely, absolutely. They have to be very careful. They have to follow the procedures. As with anything else, there's obviously a bureaucratic procedure. There is a form they have to fill in, based on which the U.S. government will determine their exact status.
Can they apply for green cards or refugee status?
No. Well, the refugee status is totally it's outside of this. Temporary protected status is different from refugee status. So for that, I am not an immigration attorney, and I'm not going to give bad immigration advice.
So if the U.S. were to lift this temporary protected status, what would be informing them to do so?
The U.S. would lift the temporary protected. They will review it after 18 months. And in 18 months, if there is peace in Cameroon, if there's peace in the north, if there's peace in the southwest and the northwest, then they will lift the temporary protected status, and every single individual Cameroonian who is in the United States, they will revert to the immigration status that they have individually. I get extremely frustrated when I hear from the Cameroonian community that they are waiting for the international community to solve the problem. And I keep telling people the brutal truth is that the international community is not going to solve the problem.
Well, I guess the message is now settling down amongst most Ambazonians, because we see what is going on in Ukraine. Now, one of the things that we observed, the world observed in Ukraine, was the discrimination against Africans in particular. When the war broke out, Africans were denied access to the trains, into every transportation system you could imagine to escape the war.
This last question where Chris Anu asked him for Tibor Nagy, the talk say Ambazonians are debating whether Francophone they go benefit for this TPS or Anglophone them. How stupid, how dull can you do? You are bringing this type of quarter talk. Who cares whether Francophone benefits or not? As a leader, you need to know why we be the fight for this TPS me come out. Why over 40 senators of America signed me come out. When I talk say now, when I be the fight me come out, you don't even know the basic. How can you bring us to that level? You are even talking about economic migrant. How does it even relate? You don't even know the basic. You don't even know the basic about something, but yet you are fighting, pushing everybody to stand in front, destroying leaders, lying to our people. You are incompetent. You should not be talking on behalf of Ambazonia or pretending to be talking on behalf of Ambazonia. So one thing I want to notice, my country people, I not study journalism, but na basic grammar, na basic logic, say a person's line of question can tell you where that person is leaning. For example, there is positive and negative question. If I ask you a negative question, it means I want your answer to be negative because that is where I'm leaning. A positive question means my answer, I want you to give a positive answer so that you can know that is what I want. Like for example, I say, can you go down with me? That's a positive question. It means I want you to go down. If I ask you a negative question, it means I'm leaning that way. So this question then get a lot of revelation about who Cristiano be and where he had be and where he the one lead Ambazonia people to. Make una know that one. But this is an embarrassment. This interview na an embarrassment to Ambazonia. The Ambazonian Governing Council, we don't seek to use people like Tibor Nagy and other international personality for social media fame. We use the opportunity for people like Tibor Nagy, we engage them to have tangible diplomatic progress for the Ambazonian people. Ambazonian liberation is not about analysis, journalism, to come and analyze something very well, have so many followers, to present some people like president, dress like president, act like president, and then deceive our people to hope in something that you cannot develop, you cannot deliver, you are not competent to deliver to the people. Eating money from the people. It does not end in analyzing and proving to people that you know, and then proposing solution on social media and sit back. Liberation is not a walk in the park. You are dealing with the life of 8 million people who are being slaughtered every day, who are dying from starvation, destitution, as a result of recolonization. It is a serious matter, not a matter for clowns. Not a matter for clowns. You need hard workers, people who can do the job, who are competent, who can accomplish diplomatic success and push for the agenda for our independence internationally with respect to have tangible result for the people. It's not about making people to be happy, to follow you, to like you. It's not about that. We want result. We want competence, efficiency. That is why I follow Dr. Chuayeba. I have represented Seseko. I have been appointed as his ambassador, the one who was supposed to change the game for him to still remain with Ayabacho. Because whether you like him or not, he knows it, he's competent. His team is best. That's why, look at Cristiano, look at the people following you. J. Carl, Sam Thomas, people who are blockheaded. Look at the people you have deceived to follow this, your idea of a government. Even Honorable Weber is criticizing it. You people cannot change. You are dragging our people and killing them every day with this nonsense. And you are even putting it on our head and saying that we are doing the same thing like you. How ridiculous, how stupid you people are. Wicked people, black man. You will stand on the way for freedom for your people because you are capable of deceiving them. Wagging Tibor Nagy in front of them to mislead them. Nonsense. God should punish you and all those you have misled, all those who are following this your nonsense, and Seseko, you in prison. You have gathered popularity, put in your pocket, and hold it that we will not go anywhere unless it is you. All those who are wickedness, all who are, God will punish you now.